Hello, and welcome
Hello
to Videocalypse Masterpiece Theatre,
where we, Videocalypse,
are about to present selected works from FX9 and Scholastic's Worlds of Power.
Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest.
And while we take you through this delightful journey, I, of Videocalypse, will be playing Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest.
Yes, if you did not hear that, we are in fact reading a scholastic book out loud. A children's novel based on fucking Castlevania.
But do not let that dissuade you, as Mick will read the back of the book.
Yes, Simon thought he had destroyed him, but Count Dracula may have had the last laugh. Castlevania is facing disaster, and Simon is turning into a vampire. Unless Simon can defeat Dracula once and for all, Castlevania is doomed.
That sounds most exciting.
Most exciting, Master.
We shall begin immediately.
Yes. We might as well turn off the masterpiece. Masterpiece theater.
I really wish there was a way to have this sort of like gradually go out on us, but there isn't. How unglorious.
Unglorious.
But without further ado.
Yes, no more adus. We'll be further. Bring up the chat too. I know Maniac Bob said something. Maniac Bob said here, and fade. Needs more adus. There is 6 people in our living room right now watching this on a big screen TV. But anyway, as Ben plays Castlevania, I'm going to read Chapter 1, Tim. It looked as though Count Dracula was going to win the battle. "I will drink your spirit like cherry pop," said the Count, flapping his cape and showing his fangs. "Yes, Simon Belmont, you will become one of my children of the night."
I want to turn down the game audio.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's turn down the game audio a bit. Yeah, so Count Dracula just said, "I will drink your spirit like cherry pop," because that is a... Oh, children's books. Simon shivered with fear.
I love cherry pop. If Simon Belmont's blood was made of cherry pop, I would drink all of it.
This is true. I would be a vampire with cherry.
I thought that was how you worked.
Ooh. They both stood upon a castle tower. Beyond was darkness, except for a cold moon in the sky like a dead eye. Wind chuckled softly along the battlements. The air was full of the smell of garlic clove necklace Simon had.
Why do werewolves jump?
Garlic clove necklace Simon had around his neck. "No, Count Dracula! You will not drink my spirit this day," he said, snapping his thorn whip with a crack as loud as a gunshot. Guns don't exist, so why would...
What a horrible night to have a curse, Mick!
Oh, God. And by the way, it doesn't taste like cherry pop at all, so it's nothing you'd want anyway. "Let me be the judge of that." And the vampire leapt at him. He flapped his long arms, and they became wings. His gigantic teeth gleamed as the mouth opened wide, seeking to bite. "No, you don't, Count Dracula," said Simon Belmont, his blonde hair streaming in the night wind. He held up the magical item he had worked for so long and hard to obtain. "For I have the power of the magic crystal, and that is the one—" "Timothy!" Simon Bradley startled. "Timothy Bradley! Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me?" Simon dropped the magic crystal. It smashed to the floor and burst into 1,000 brilliant pieces. Count Dracula laughed cruelly.
Find the whole werewolf basketball team over here. What the fuck?
Hey,
I mean,
black people.
No, white basketball werewolf team.
Black people can become werewolves. Count Dracula laughed cruelly. "Ah, a vampire has no better ally than a mother." He leapt on the boy, and then the magical world of Castlevania dissolved around Tim Bradley like twinkling gossamer. No longer was he Simon Belmont, vampire hunter. Once more he was in his boring bedroom. His mother stood in the doorway. "Timothy! You've got school in less than 10 minutes! How much—" they're British, by the way. "How much time do I have to tell you?"
Timothy! You've got school! You can't stop school to go save vampires!
You get too wrapped up in your now Nintendo games, and you're late for classes. Tim put down the joystick. Oh, gee, Mom, I almost got Count Dracula again.
Oi, Mom!
Don't tell me you already got the count.
Timothy's accent is gonna change when I read it.
Didn't you tell me you already got the count? Judy Bradley asked, bending her frown towards the TV set. She was a pretty woman, even with her dark brown hair and curlers.
Dude.
But she didn't look that hot when she frowned. Why is...
Oh, fuck!
What were you doing?
We're trying to swim?
You can't swim in Nintendo games.
Okay.
Water kills you.
Okay, fuck.
In everything.
The townsperson's turned into a zombie. I have to kill him. I hope
This
he
is
wasn't
town?
trying to... This is town!
Ooh.
The fuck is this? I sure hope that...
Okay. So, magical will of thing. She didn't look so hot when she frowned. There's a little octopus in this.
There's a lot... Well, it's not necessarily from the perspective of Timothy Bradley, right? Like, FX9 is
True.
sitting, writing this book through the window of Timothy Bradley's place, and now he really wants to bone Timothy's mom.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Is time even progressing while I'm in here?
I
Or do
don't
I
know.
have to go back outside until daylight?
If you hit start, it might. Or rather, it'll tell you the time. 105.
Okay.
105:52. Didn't you already beat him? Didn't you already beat him once? 19 times, said Timothy proudly, reaching up and turning off the TV set. This would have been the 20th. That's not very British. Well, just use your imagination to pretend the count got staked again and run along to school, chum. Tim shook his head as he got up and began digging through a pile of comic books for his prized pair of black leather Reebok brand shoes. He found one of them and began to put it on. I didn't realize that in 1988...
There was that much product placement in a book about Castlevania?
Oh, right. Tim shook his head. Alright.
Castlevania brought to you by Pepsi.
You just don't understand, Mom.
The Diet Lime Diabetic Edition.
I'll know that I didn't win. That's what matters, Mom. He dropped down and began to feel around his bed for the other shoe. His hand encountered miniature model monsters and warriors, marbles, a slingshot, then finally came across the soft leather top of a tennis shoe. Well, mothers never do understand, I suppose, said Mrs. Bradley. That's part of our job. I do understand, though, that if this happens once more, your father's going to hear about this and whoops, there will go that allowance that keeps you nose high in comic books. Tim slipped on the other shoe and tied it. Message received, Mother. Over and I'm out of here. He grabbed his books and a half-eaten chocolate granola bar for breakfast, and ran past his mother and down the stairs, taking them two at a time. Although he was short and wasn't exactly varsity sports material, Tim Bradley was quick. His friends wanted
Do they even do varsity sports in middle school?
Is he in middle school?
I thought he was junior high.
Was he? I don't remember saying anything about junior high. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about junior high.
Okay.
I mean, it's just as likely that he's like 16.
Oh, shit.
Tim Bradley was quick. He wanted his friends wanted him to play pickup touch football at the time. He, however, was just as happy to
Fuck your business, fishman! Sorry. I mean, sorry. No, did not mean to interrupt.
Exercise his finger and thumb in front of video games. Like books, there were whole worlds he could get lost in, zooming with fighter planes and roving through adventures with deadly ninjas.
Oh, God, yes!
Timothy's favorite game, unlike Benoit's, is Castlevania. Was Konami's Castlevania. I also like how he mentions through roving adventures with deadly ninjas, and ninjas has a capital N, and one of the other books he has was Ninja Gaiden. He has product placement for his books in his books.
How do I even get...
Up there? You jump.
No, I mean, where that skeleton is.
Oh, you have to go around. Down.
Oh my God.
I assume. I don't know. But... He had never gotten through Bram Stoker's famous novel Dracula. It was too darn scary. And Stephen King, woo! Tim liked fantasy plenty, but when it came to horror books, horror films, or horror comic books, Tim's knees just turned to water. This is why he liked Castlevania so much. He could deal with Dracula there. He felt like he had control. Okay, here we go. Tim Bradley was a short 14-year-old who wore black horn-rimmed glasses just to be eccentric. Oh my god, Tim's a hipster. He had dark hair.
So maybe this isn't a book that, like, took place years ago.
No,
this is happening yesterday.
This is 2012. And He's playing old. Oh, get out of the lava! Why is there lava?
Masterpiece Theater! Oh my god!
Curse. As I continue. He could deal with Dracula in Castlevania. He felt like he had control. Oh yeah, Tim Bradley was a short 14-year-old who wore black horn-rimmed glasses just to be eccentric. He had dark hair and a narrow face, but it was an open and friendly face when he took off the spectacles. Tim Bradley certainly didn't think he was good-looking. He just saw himself as being pretty average. Except at video games. At video games, he was a real champ. As he ran to school, where he attended the 8th grade, he took a bite of his chocolate granola bar. Chocolate granola bar. This was one of his weaknesses.
Chocolato granola.
This was one of his weaknesses. Not granola bars, chocolate.
Chekhov's chocolate granola bar.
Chekhov?
Chekhov's gun.
Oh, yes. If he could, he would have eaten a Hershey's Big Block for breakfast. Hershey brand Big Block. Good for kids that like Castlevania.
Brought to you by Hershey's.
Mom compromised by buying him chocolate granolas with healthy stuff like raisins and nuts. Too much chocolate's bad for your complexion, Tim, she'd say. Besides, it puts on weight. Tim had a clear complexion and he was slim, so it was hard to understand what his mother was talking about. But since he still lived at home and would until he grew up, boy, he couldn't wait to do that. He had to do what his parents said, more or less. Anyway, he knew that chocolate wasn't good for you. He just loved it. Always has and probably always would. Especially the gooey, rich fudge that his grandmother made, that he could wash down with big glasses of cold, foamy milk, and, gosh, just thinking about it
cold,
made him
foamy Dairyland milk.
Just thinking about it made him gobble up the rest of his breakfast bar. It almost sounds here that he's, like, getting a boner. Gosh.
He's a young boy, he doesn't know what he wants.
If he had looked off to the right, behind a large clump of juniper bushes, he would have seen a famous hero from another dimension materializing with a quiet pop. As it happened, the famous hero had come specifically to speak to none other than Timothy J. Bradley. However, the hero was so overcome with culture shock, he could only stare at the wonders about him, allowing Tim Bradley to be on his way to the homeroom. And that concludes Chapter 1. Chapter 1 concludes with a game hit.
Is it you can't fucking swim?
That, and there is a secret path at Yuba Lake. Just in case the book wants you to know.
The hell is Yuba Lake?
Well, whenever you get to Yuba Lake,
but
there's
like,
a secret
it's not
path.
like when I walk to a screen it says, "Welcome to Yuba Lake."
Well, I mean, if
welcome to Corneria.
If you see a lake, you might have a sign next to it.
Besides, lakes scare me a little bit. They're full of water.
Okay.
Water is apparently the bane of my existence.